Morning all, welcome to your News of the Day video for Sunday, January 12th. We're about halfway through January. It's starting to look like January out there. The really cold air hasn't hit yet. It's coming in sometime today, apparently. Goody. Kassian's going to have a hearing on Monday. So tomorrow, Zach Kassian will have a hearing with the league after ragdolling Matthew Tkachuk. Now, I'll say this, having looked at the hits, there are some Oilers fans not happy with the hits. There's some fans of other teams not happy with the hits either. Let's not single out Oiler fans. I didn't think they were suspension worthy. Brian Burke apparently came out and said on Hockey Night in Canada last night, no, those are clean hits. I get it. I get why Kassian got up losing his mind and wanting a fight. It's part of what's known with Zach Kassian. And I remember him as a Canuck, there were times where I'd think, oh, one more hit, he's going to be triggered, isn't he? And once he goes off, he's a liability to his own team. Now, he's a popular teammate because he will stand up for his teammates. But at the same time, there was no need for Tkachuk to fight. So all these people are saying, oh, that coward Tkachuk and what a wuss. Yeah, and because he was a coward and turtled, they got a 4-minute power play. So there is no way that anybody in Flames management is going to be going to Tkachuk today and going, hey, that power play we got last night, what's up with that? We shouldn't have got that. You should have dropped your gloves and it would have been 5 for fighting on each side. No, he knew what he was doing. And so Kassian went off, and it looks bad. And then, I see, oh, he beat him up. Yeah, I don't know how many of those punches actually landed. And then Tkachuk went out and hit him again in the third period. So Matthew Tkachuk plays a certain style. Now, 2 years ago, we were talking about Tkachuk being suspended. We were talking about the way he was playing as being outside of the rules, just outside of the rules, and the NHL and the Flames sat down and had talks with him. His game has changed since then. He picks his spots better than he did 2 years ago. And I get why people don't like him. I also understand why most fans would love to have him on their team. Matthew Tkachuk is the top scorer for the Calgary Flames. If he gets into a fight with Zach Kassian and gets injured because he's fighting above his weight class, that doesn't help him. It certainly doesn't help the Flames, and it doesn't make him look any smarter after. The same people that are complaining and saying that he doesn't have any courage would be laughing if he did get beat up by Kassian and got injured on the play. And they'd say, see, he's not good enough anyways. Enjoy not having Tkachuk for the next 3 weeks, month, whatever. So if you don't like Matthew Tkachuk now, you probably won't like him tomorrow or a year from now or 10 years from now. So we'll see what the NHL does. I would think the most important thing now is looking forward to their next meeting. So if I'm the NHL, I probably sit down with Kassian and say, all right, we're just going to give you a fine. I don't know that there's anything suspension worthy in there, but they're going to say if this kind of thing happens again, and you're basically, they're beaking off at the press about this, if this happens again, we're going to be talking about a suspension because you can't have a Bertuzzi situation. Everybody gets mad about the whole Bertuzzi situation now. But back then, it was, well, Moore should have just turned around and fought him. I heard that a lot. The funny thing is, Moore had already fought in that game. Sometimes it doesn't matter how many times you fight. Team's still going to want you to fight more. So if Tkachuk had dropped the gloves with Kassian, who knows? He may have had to fight him again. There's no end to this. It's not like Kassian's going, hey, if he'd fought me then, he would never have to fight me again. No. So I don't think this Battle of Alberta is going to quiet down. I think this is the kind of emotion that's needed. And I don't think there's a suspension that's necessary here. We'll see what the NHL does with it. Certainly, Kassian's left himself open 2-1 because he did, throw a lot of punches at a guy who obviously wasn't punching back. I also want to throw in here, there's no real place to throw this, but everybody's been talking about Neil Peart, drummer for Rush, who passed away the other day. I heard a lot of Rush played at every arena in every game I was watching yesterday. I was never a big fan of the band, but I will say this, that individually and collectively, extremely talented musicians and a Canadian institution. right up there with any band you can name from Canada. Might be the most famous band from Canada. So, it's one of those things where I will mention it in this video. I'm not going to do a video specifically on that. I feel like that's more of a music thing. And not only that, but it's something more to be covered by people who were big fans of the band. There were a couple of their songs I liked, but mostly they weren't really my taste. But again, musically, one of the most talented bands you're going to find. And certainly there's been a lot of talk since he passed, and before he passed, obviously, but since he passed, a lot of talk about, how he kind of revolutionized drumming, and how Rush was a band that was really appreciated by people who are musicians for their ability to do what they do. So, yeah, it's too bad. And he was a big hockey fan as well, being Canadian, of course. And there's a nice drum set in one picture on, I want to say it's on a Sportsnet article, which shows all of the NHL logos all the way around the drums. And all I thought was, A, where do you get a drum set like that? And B, if I'd seen a drum set like that when I was a kid, I would have wanted to be a drummer. So, and I kind of on a, it's one spot in a band that I thought, that'd be fun to do, was drumming, but there's just so many things to keep in mind. Drumming is yeah, and the way he did it was fantastic. So, while I would still ascertain the greatest drummer of all time, I would say it's probably John Bonham. That's probably my Zeppelin bias coming out. So there you go. Okay, so we'll segue as well as we can into New York Rangers, who are listening to offers on Alexander Georgiev, per Elliot Friedman. And here's the thing: they're not shopping him exactly, but if a team calls and if they're offering a forward who can play in the NHL or is close, they'll consider it. So it may not cost a lot to get Georgiev, but they don't want to just give him away either. So Shesterkin, it looks like, probably sticks around, and Lundqvist is there until the end of his career, and Georgiev's the odd guy out. I've said it before, 3-man rotations in goal generally don't work. There are times that there are exceptions, but generally speaking, they don't work. This happened on Friday, I believe. Toronto Marlies assistant coach Rob Davison had a prolonged grand mal seizure. Now, when I saw what the seizure was, the first aid part of my brain kicked in, and I had remembered some stuff about grand mal seizures. Now, the good news is this: if he's never had one before, he may never have one again. Grand mal seizure is the bad one that you picture from TV, where somebody just passes out and they're twitching and convulsing. Most seizures don't work that way. I worked with somebody who'd have seizures, and he could have a seizure and you could be talking to him while he has one. And you just realize that he was having one because whatever he said didn't make any sense, and whatever he was doing in that moment didn't make any sense. You'd be like, why don't we just walk over here? Just take a minute. All right, let's just have a minute. What he had is not like that. So it's possible he may never have another seizure again in his life. It can be one of those things where it's an electrical imbalance in the brain. Could be from low blood sugar. It could be from a number of different factors that just that one time kick in, and your brain says, all right, I'm shutting down and restoring some balance here. And it's scary, and I understand them immediately getting them to the hospital and getting them checked, because you never know if something else is going on. But grand mal seizure, as bad as that sounds, it's kind of a best case scenario, because it may very well be it's just the one, and that's it. But they are scary. Last men in were voted in and announced, and it's going to be Mitch Marner, Quinn Hughes, David Perron, and TJ Oshie. So, Mitch Marner, Toronto Maple Leaf, largest fan base, makes sense he get voted in. And Quinn Hughes, Vancouver Canucks, largest fan base, makes sense to get voted in. Both belong there as well. Quinn Hughes has had a very good year for Vancouver. David Perron, sometimes I see stuff like this and I think, did the NHL intentionally not put Perron in the All-Star game, knowing people would have this big public outcry and vote him in? But yeah, the St. Louis Blues had a great campaign to get him in there, and it worked. And TJ Oshie for the Capitals, which makes total sense because Caps fans, a much larger contingent than I think they're given credit for as well. And Oshie's a very popular Cap. So, good additions. And they're still naming new players for players who are stepping out, like Silverberg stepping out because his wife's having a baby. And so Max Pacioretty takes his place, meaning we won't have a Duck in the All-Star game until a bunch of other players step out and then other guys step in. It's so bizarre. Anyhow, so that's your All-Star rosters right now. Aiden Hill will be starting for the Arizona Coyotes today as Antti Ranta's out again. And it looks like it's the same injury, he just aggravated it. We still don't know exactly what's going on. Just that Prosvetov's been called back up. But good news for Arizona fans, Nick Hjalmarsson returns to action tonight. So Hjalmarsson is back for the Arizona Coyotes. That'll be a huge boost for their blue line. Doesn't add a lot of offense. Really doesn't add any offense, but it does add something physical on that blue line, and it does give them a different look that they can give other teams. So, good news for him. Other good news, Greg Pateryn, very likely to debut today for the Minnesota Wild against Vancouver. He's been out all season, so he makes his return likely tonight. And according to reports, he was paired with Christian Soucy at practice. So it looks like that's who he's going to be playing with. So yeah, there you go. You guys are all caught up on the news of the day thus far, keeping in mind that there's some early games going on as well, so news of the day could change. And on Monday, we will likely be talking about what happens with Zach Kassian and what happens with the Battle of Alberta from here, and what this might mean for the next couple of games. Like I said, I still think this hearing is about, oh, no. We can't have this dragging over into the next game. We can't have these kinds of things being said publicly either. So we'll get him in here about the roughing and the ragdolling, but we're going to have a chat with him about, you got to watch what you're saying to the press too, because, again, ever since the Steve Moore incident, the NHL's been very, very quick to step in with these kinds of things where it looks like there's almost a bounty on certain players. Like, oh, next time, I swear, we're going to get him. And the NHL did nothing about Steve Moore when the Canucks were threatening him before the incident took place. So that's what I feel like the NHL is really careful of now, is they know what happened, and they want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.